telling me. After
What is the profitable stylist? Here we go. This week we have another special guest with us. We have the lovely bombshell long hair Brittany.
Oh, I thought you were talking about me.
Yeah, right. Good morning, Brittany. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, good morning.
And good morning, Bernard, to you as well, too, as always.
Yeah, good morning, Bernard.
Oh, good morning.
Okay.
Got my long hair.
Making fun of me.
So the last time Brittany was on, she had short hair, and I just want to know, how did it grow so long, so
Magic.
fast?
What do you mean?
Last time we had you on, it was like
my miracle hair regrowth treatments.
Are you really?
You can have that secret right now if you sign up.
Yeah. No, the wonderful onstage extension, so you can see how short.
I know. I am surprised at how well that color blend is really good.
It's perfect.
We went to the Chicago Hair Show and we put hair on her head, and it wasn't planned, so we just had a whole bunch of extra hair and some that was planned for you.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't go all so well the first day, right? We had some not so well blended lines, and as a hairdresser, she's like, "You think we could take this out, put this in, change it up a little?" I'm like, "Sure, Brennan, she's got a story for you. Can you follow her directions and make her hair look good?" And yes, I am surprised. How many weeks later is it now that you still have the same hair in?
I don't know. How many weeks ago was the thing?
It was about 2 weeks now.
Yeah.
2 or 3 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah.
And with your hair being so short, it's amazing how well it blends. So Brittany here came to my location. You guys are in Chicago. I'm in the Slidell, Louisiana area. Brittany came here a while back and filmed some hair replacement education, and that's what we're going to talk about today, right? Why
Indeed.
you should learn. What?
I said indeed.
Indeed. Why you should learn hair replacement from Brittany. Tell us, Eddie.
Because Brittany rocks, okay?
Why are you looking down, dude? Look at us. Look.
You're so low. You're so low in your chair.
That's better.
Right. I think our education came out really, really well.
No, the education program came out really well. Look, hair replacement is complicated. As complicated as you want it to be. It could be as simple also as you want it to be. But at the end of the day, it all comes down to a few things. Who is it for? Why is the person getting it? And what is your approach? And as long as you got a plan, as long as you have an idea of what you're trying to do, then everything becomes simplified for the person who's wearing it and for you as a stylist who's installing it. And what's awesome about you, Brittany, is you have a very nice, easy way of explaining it, presenting it, and simplifying the process all the way through. So your program is phenomenal.
Thank you.
Yeah. So most of my comments on YouTube, or our comments on our YouTube channel, we have so many different videos, from extensions to hair replacement to all kind of other teaching videos. And most of the comments are when I put hair on a guy's head. I've got a video on there. And so it's like most people are interested in hair replacement because it's so changing, so life-changing and physically, visually changing for people. And still till this day, Eddie laughs at me, why I, as a normal human, focus on the negative, because most of the comments are so freaking positive. Most of them are, "Oh my God, he looks so good. Who is he? What's his number? Where does he live?" They get personal. But I mean, some of them are like, "It's so difficult. Thank you for sharing the details." So many thankful people, but then one or two people comment, so they stick out in my head, like, "Why are you trying to make this seem so difficult? It's a pretty simple process. I think you're just trying to make it seem difficult so that you can sell education."
But do they do hair replacement?
Well, no. I know, because you and Eddie doesn't actually do hair replacement. He keeps thinking about getting into it, and he doesn't do it. But you and I, Brittany, do hair replacement. And I have to say, I mean, maybe I'm just dumb, but it wasn't so simple for me in the beginning.
Look, every attempt that I have done, the piece has slid off. I cannot get the adhesive to stick.
So you might be dumb too. Tell us.
Bernard.
And it's a problem. And it's a problem.
we're just slow learners. And this guy
Yeah.
who made the comment. So you tell me, how easy was it for you in the beginning, Brittany?
I hated hair replacement when I first started.
It's hard.
I preface that by saying, though, like when I got my first job doing hair replacement, I was pregnant with my first daughter. So all of the smells of like the adhesives and then taking the system off and the solvents made me want to vomit every day. But then once I had my baby and I was like rational again, I fell in love with it. So, and I remember one time specifically, I put on someone's hair starting from the back, and I've seen people do this still to this day, and it just doesn't make sense to me. But I remember putting it on from the back to the front, and I was like, oh shoot, like how do I do
like this?
Yeah, I was like, how do I make sure that it's not crooked? And so it was just, I like freaked out about it, but it was fine. It ended up being okay, I guess.
Goodness. Yeah. So it's just not easy. It was quite a learning curve, right? I mean, till this day.
Yes. And there's so much that goes into it too. So it's not just like slapping some glue, which I hate that word, on a piece of hair and then plopping it on someone's head. Like you have to take into account their body chemistry and how it's going to break down the adhesives and what system to get from them, because if they're more active, they need something more durable. So there's a lot of different variables that go into one client.
I was traveling the country teaching hair replacement a few years ago, and I remember thinking people would ask, they wanted a summary at the beginning of the class. And so I would give them a summary, and I'll tell it to you here in a second. But then at the end of the class, I had somebody video, and it's in one of my like advertising educational videos for the training. I said, so do you guys remember at the beginning of class when I said hair replacement is as basic as, and I'm going to use words I hate, but I just want to use them to be kind of brash and harsh. And I said, hair replacement is as simple as taking the hair, painting some glue on it and the person's head and just slapping it on and giving them a haircut, right? And a couple of the guys in class at the end of a day, they're like, oh, no. And so I started the class with, listen, guys, hair replacement can sound like it's pretty simple because it's just about taking some hair and some glue and putting them together and doing a haircut. So now let's get started and see how simple it is. And I mean, guys, let's go through some of the steps, guys. Like what Eddie did actually try to do his father-in-law's hair. Didn't have a great experience at first, because to me, that shows how complicated it is. You don't just do it right and simple your first time. It takes some training, some support.
It does.
And like, what was the first thing? Let's all kind of go through the process just a little bit. Oh, and let me mention this to people. We've got Brittany's training where? On the Profitable Stylist, right?
Yes.
On the Profitable Stylist Academy.
Yeah.
You want to show it real quick? Show it what it looks like, and then we'll go through the process and show people how difficult. Like the very first thing, Brittany, what do we have to do while he's finding that?
Do for what? What do you
For
mean?
hair replacement. Yeah. Where's it all start in your mind? Like, what's the first thing you think about?
Training, number one. I would definitely not suggest just buying a hair system and some adhesive and putting it on someone's head. You're setting yourself and the client up for failure. So I think just a good, reputable training would be your first step.
Did you write this bio here, Brittany? She is an expert in non-surgical hair restoration. She gained her passion for hair loss.
Yeah.
So scroll down. How many videos is it, Eddie? So see, look, guys, if you go to her channel,
it's an entire program. It's an entire course.
So this is all the videos to teach you how to do all of these things. If you can read them on your screen, I'm gonna have to get my face a lot closer to read it. But the thing I like to always show is that look at the preview videos. Go there in the description below our YouTube video, right? You'll be able to go find this education, and then you can watch where it says preview. You can watch those videos. We're not going to play them now, I don't think, but you can watch these videos and see if you like Brittany. See if you like her style, how she talks, how she teaches, because she's gonna, the one that would really give you an idea is that one where it says custom system versus a stock system.
Yeah, the custom system versus stock system.
Yeah, she's going to talk a little bit about the difference in the two, because people have lots of questions about that. But when you look at this list, Brittany, what do you think? Do you remember like loving one of these video making processes more than the rest?
Um, Man, that was so long ago, and I was so pregnant. It's like all a blur.
You know, the different, I didn't like,
Go ahead.
just like with every product out there, you know, there are different options, but you don't realize how many different options there are. Like the different types of systems available, right? I thought I was going to go into this learning just one way of doing it, and that was going to be a pretty universal way of doing it because, you know, just like anybody else who watches something, they're like, oh yeah, it looks easy enough.
Right.
But you go into any store, you go into Home Depot, there's 20 different types of lumber. You go into, you know, the beauty supply, there is 20 different types of hair color or shampoos.
Yeah.
So being able to see all the different types of systems available like that really was eye-opening. I didn't realize how extensive of a world hair replacement is just in itself, because I always thought it was such a small facet of our industry. I didn't realize how big of a facet it actually is.
It's big.
Yeah. And I think too, with it gaining more momentum on social media and TikTok and Instagram, I'm seeing a lot of just one type of system, which is the skin system, which
Yep.
it's a really nice system. It looks really natural, but there's so many others. So people think like, okay, I'm just going to get the skin system for my client and call it a day. But the skin system isn't the best option for everybody. So I think that's where the training is really imperative, because it's not always going to work for everybody.
What does the training cost, Eddie? Tell us about the cost, and then we're going to go back through talking about it a little bit.
Yeah. So the program standard is $797. This month of May, Brittany is offering 40% off as a promotion.
40%.
40% off.
That's a lot.
Really trying to make it a happy Mother's Day for everybody that wants to learn how to do this.
That's a lot.
Hey,
And it's
then you have no excuses, okay? So the program then is $478.20.
He did the math. I'm glad you did the math.
Which is a good starter, right? So if you want to say you want to like just see if hair replacement is for you, go ahead and take the online course. And if you're like, yeah, I could really get into this, I have a lot of clients, you know, that would benefit from this. Then there's other options too, where we can also do an in-person, and that includes a whole kit. So that'll go over more advanced techniques of how to apply hair and different systems and everything. This particular online course is with a skin system. And I think we apply it one way with the liquid adhesive.
Yep.
But there's so many other ways. So an in-person or Zoom would be a more advanced training with a kit. And then you could come to my private studio, or we again could do it on Zoom for you. And if you want to do it for the salon with you 4 more stylists, I think we would come to you.
Yep. And so I think that Brittany is doing something I did in the early days of educating. It's like there's so much, like Eddie's starting to find out in hair replacement. We feel like these classes we teach, because we're trying to simplify it and get a starting point. But there are hairdressers all over the country that take just that training and do and never go any further with their training and are pretty successful and do 20, 30 clients with just skin systems. Like Eddie said, he thought it was one type of system, just put a skin system on, one type of adhesive, and make a lot of people happy. I think the thing to know is that if you want to dive deeper, it's a huge learning experience, because some people just love teaching and train. They love being taught. They love being trained. They love, I don't know, they just love to keep going to classes. And I think what Brittany's touching on here is that the hair replacement field, it's probably never ending.
Yeah.
We are still learning now.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
I got inspired. I was actually editing one of your videos, and I was so blown away from going through the entire process when I was editing one of the education class videos. And that's what got me going, just from spending hours and hours and hours, you know, I'll leave this part in, take this part out. Oh, this looks super interesting. What the hell is going on right there? Like, you know,
He got
and
so
then
excited. He got so excited he couldn't finish the editing. He kept watching it over and
Bernard's
over.
like, yeah, where's my
Calling
video? I'm like, I'm
texting.
watching it. And he's like, yeah, but where is my video for everybody else?
Could
No,
you
no,
finish
I'm
editing?
still
He got so excited. It was fun to watch somebody who doesn't do it get so excited about it, because it does change a person's life.
So that was my introduction. But what is most people's introduction to hair replacement? Wanting, like, at what point do you realize this might be for me?
I think for me at least, I really fell in love with the hair replacement side of it. And then when my daughter was she's like 18 months, 2 years old, she lost about 90% of her hair on top of her head and then patches in the back. So thank God that I kind of had an idea about hair restoration and minoxidil and 5% versus 2%. So I had a little bit of knowledge about that. And when I took her to the dermatologist, they wanted to put her on steroid cream, 5% minoxidil for a 2-year-old baby girl. And I was like, this is not right. So I think for me, it was a personal experience with hair loss that through my daughter that really catapulted me into learning everything I could about replacement and restoration. So a lot of people get into hair replacement because of personal experiences with hair loss. But on the flip side, you don't have to have that. You could just have a desire and passion to help others. The thing, how do I put it? The way that hair replacement can change somebody's life is, it's really cool to see when you put someone's hair on for the first time, they completely become a different person. Yeah. And they like love the way that they look. And they're just like completely in awe, like, oh my gosh, I never thought like I would look like this again. And just the confidence that they get from that. It just really makes it all
It's
worth
mind blowing, right?
It's yeah.
So here's a question from the audience. Does the class include a certification, and do wholesalers accept it?
Bernard.
Yeah,
It does include a certification. Yes.
at the end, you you have the opportunity to. Now, some people watch enough videos and they feel like I got it, and they don't quite watch 100% of all the videos. So they watch a little bit of one, like, I think that's enough. They go to the next, they get to the last video and they're like, I think I got enough, let me get started. Then they call or text or call our office and say, how do I get the certificate? Well, you actually have to watch all of the last video
To finish the whole course.
Yeah, and then
we can see if you've watched the whole video.
We can see it, and that's usually the first thing we do. When people call and they have a complaint or a question or a comment, and they're like, I just don't. What about making, like, how do I know what size to use? And I'm like, hey, RJ, I got a weird question. Like, they didn't even watch the videos. And he's like, yep, they didn't watch the video. They watched 10% of the first video, or all of the first and second one, and 30% of the third one. And it's like, right, I know why you have the question. Why watch the doggone videos? So yes, at the end of the videos, you can print the certification out. And then what's really cool is that if you take a hair replacement class, I'm gonna go out on a limb here. I'm just telling the truth, guys. Hair replacement companies want to sell hair. They want to sell hair. The only reason they make you get certified with them is when you call them and they can tell you don't know what you're talking about. They don't want you to mess up and then complain and send hair back and say the hair was messed up. No, you messed it up because you don't know how to do it. So Brittany and I have reached a place in the industry where we buy from multiple people. And so if we teach, we've already worked a deal out with multiple hair replacement suppliers in the country that are like, okay, if you teach them or Brittany teaches them, we know they know how to do it. So immediately at the end, we send your name to multiple hair suppliers. And so we'll let you know which ones you're certified with. You're certified to buy immediately from multiple hair suppliers. And if you go to one of these hair suppliers, and this is the part where I'm going out on a limb, if you go to one of these hair suppliers certification or educational class, they only teach you how to buy from them. They teach you their way, and they only teach you about their hair systems. And so the difference with Brittany here is she's going to teach you how, like just to give you an idea, my favorite system is a skin. Brittany's favorite is multiple systems, but she prefers a lace over a skin, and many do. So that's why she's saying, take my class, learn how to do the one, but then get on a Zoom call with me and learn more. Learn how, and we talk about it in the training, how many other options there are out there between perimeter bond, the multiples, full scalp bonds, so many different ways and lengths of hair and ways to order and different bases depending on lifestyle. So she's got all of that knowledge from experience, and you can learn it also. You also join a Facebook group that I had started a long time ago for people that are trained. And there's other people that have learned from us that are in the Facebook group asking questions. And if Brittany or I don't answer the question, somebody else in the group will. Or my assistant Rose will text me, there's a question you didn't answer, Bernard. And so I go back.
Comments.
Yeah, go check the comments. Right. So we help through Facebook. We help you get set up with suppliers. It's pretty fun. Eddie, for me, I come into this whole industry from a different angle. I love hearing the passion stories. But for me, I didn't come in out of passion for wanting to help people. I was a young man with a pregnant wife thinking, I got to make some freaking money to feed this family I'm about to make. And I'm just thinking, I just met this girl in hair school, and now she's pregnant and we're getting married and we're getting ready to have a baby and I'm getting a job and I can barely afford the bills I have now. How do I make more money? And that's where it started for me. Oh, extensions makes more money in a salon. Oh, highlights. Oh, hair replacement. So at first it wasn't any passion at all. I didn't even love doing hair in the very beginning. I just needed to make money. And I loved construction because I built houses before I went to hair school. And I loved doing hair. And I knew how to do hair. So I knew how to do both. And I was thinking, doing hair is in the air conditioning. I think I'll stay there. At first, I didn't love construction
Makes
enough
sense.
to want to stay outside in the heat and die. So I still love construction as a hobby. I love to build things, but my goodness, to do it all day, every day out in the heat, I just don't know if it would have shortened my life. So then as I got into women's hair replacement, see, the men will hold their feelings in a little bit more. So I put hair on men and that you could tell they loved it. And it was a kind of a good feeling, but it wasn't that passion yet. But then about a year or two into it, ladies started asking me, like the wives of some of these guys, can you do my hair? And I thought, I guess it's still just a head and hair. It's a little longer hair. I'm not as good at styling women's hair as I am at men in my early mid-20s. And so I thought, let me give it a try. It was this older Cajun lady, from Lafayette with that Cajun accent. And she's talking with some half French, half English words. I don't even know what the full sentences were, but I know she started to cry, hugged me and kissed me. I had never been kissed by. She turned my head and kissed me on the cheek. She was so happy. I was like, oh, wow, this is a little better than the money. I didn't think that there was a feeling better than getting paid. I thought paying was the height of it all. But that's when I felt the passion. I'm like, oh my God, I just changed somebody's life. That's
pretty wild. That's pretty wild. So then, and that's sometimes I forget, this education is for both. It's not just for a man or only for a women. It's a universal education.
Right.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, hair is hair, So being able to have the ability to speak to both, to anybody really for that matter, you do forget the power of the passion that comes through when you change somebody's lives. Hair extensions, I get that feeling from hair extensions.
Yep.
Replacement, in my opinion, I believe is taking it one step further. It's a whole nother level of being able to touch somebody's emotional happiness, to bring out their happiness in somebody.
Yeah, so I've got a similar story with extensions. It's a little different. It was more like the girl I did her extensions, and for the first time. I did my first full head with, it was Great Lengths extensions way back when. And it was the first time I spent like ridiculous amount of time putting hair on this girl. And she says, it was new. People just didn't know about extensions as much, and it was so comfortable in her head. And she said, now I think this was a bit of a Mean Girl reminiscence situation. She says, oh, if only I would have had this in high school. And then she names another girl in high school that was her competition. And I think it was like a Mean Girl competition in high school. And she's like, this is the only thing Susie had on me,
Yeah.
was the thick hair. And I thought, whatever it takes, but
Yeah, right.
so happy. And I getting to know her, I know it was a Mean Girl thing, but still the passion, like that, like I brought her back to her teenage days, and she just felt like better than she felt when she was a teenager. So yeah, extensions changes people's lives too. But you're right. When you take a bald or thinning haired person and put hair on their head, it changes their life, and it changes yours. It changes yours, and it changes your income. Talk about that, Brittany. Talk about your income. Did you just do hair before hair replacement?
Yeah. So I was in doing mainstream hair for, I think, 10 years before I got into hair replacement. And I always had to have like supplemental income. Like I always had to have another job or, wait tables or be a cocktail waitress on the weekends or something, because I never made enough doing mainstream hair.
Yeah.
And then I got a job at a corporate hair replacement company, and I still didn't make enough money just because of their pay structure and what have you. But when I finally made the decision to go off on my own and take my clients and do them by myself, that's when I really started seeing what the potential was to make a living for myself. And now that I am on my own, I am making a living for myself. I can help support my family. And I think last month I brought in more than my husband did. So it's really nice to, feel like I'm able to make a difference and help my family when that hasn't been, a thing for me. I was a single mom for a long time, and I remember needing formula and diapers and wipes, and I had $12 in my bank account. And this is, it's crazy. And now I have my own studio, and it's really cool to see how hair replacement not only affects and changes my clients' lives, but how it's changed mine too.
Yeah. And that's what that's what this channel is all about. The profitable stylist, trying to help stylists be more profitable, because there's nothing wrong with money, right? I don't know what it is about our field that we hear so often. I am not a salesman, or I feel I can't charge more than that in my area, or I feel guilty about charging too much, so I just did it for free. I don't know what it is about hairdressers. I think it's and it's harder for me to understand because I don't think I grew up the typical hairdresser. I didn't do hair in high school. I didn't always want to do hair, doing my friends' hair, because even a lot of guys did do that, even if they're barbering. And I know a lot of friends said I went to college because the parents said I had to, but I was still. Ali last week, he was like, I went to college. I was cutting people's hair in the dorm room, and then he said, and then I had to go to hair school, and I lost money because I had to do them all for free for that year of school. I was making more money doing hair before I was legal until they had to go to school. And so for most hairdressers, I think it's because we're a creative bunch and maybe not so business minded most of the time. So we're thinking more creatively, and we don't even think about the money. That's just my take on it.
Yeah, I think.
What do you think?
Yeah, we are definitely more creative. Our mindset is more creative, so the business doesn't always come easy to all of us. And then on top of it, what is the original reason that you went to hair school? Because you love doing hair, you want to be creative, and you want to make people feel good. And I think when I think we're so afraid of losing clients and upsetting people that we're not willing to raise our prices. But the fact of the matter is if you specialize in something, charge for that. If you're the only one in your area that does that, you charge for that. You need to charge for your time and your expertise, and you are not responsible for your client's beauty budget. And I don't say that to like be harsh. I'm pretty low for the industry standard on my prices. My service price might be a little bit higher because I educate and all of the knowledge that I have for that. But you deserve to be paid what you're worth. And I think more of us need to hear that. So girl, raise your prices this month.
Even if you're just doing hair or highlight or color. Yeah. If you're booked solid, you should raise your prices. I used to say, raise your prices, everybody. Then I got nervous one day after a live and I thought, ooh, man, I might be talking to this girl right out of school, just got a job, and she's been working a week or two.
Don't raise your prices if you're just out of school. Don't do that.
Maybe work for free or lower your prices. But most people that are at this level watching us are, they're looking for something more, wanting to do something different. And so there's so many ways you can make more money. You might need to raise your prices. Like you said, you might need to learn how to do hair replacement or learn how to do hair extensions. You might need to do another service, go to a hair show and raise your prices. But it all comes down to, if you're booked over 80-90%, you're almost every day have clients for the next week or 2 or 3. People can barely get in with you next week or the week after. That's basic, simple supply and demand.
If you're booked and you're still struggling, you need to raise your prices. Yes.
Yep. So I just remember little things like you just said. I helped a lady out in Nebraska who runs a pretty big operation out there. We were on a stage together talking to the crowd, and I was talking about raising prices, and she ended up telling me a few weeks later on the phone. She said, Bernard, I don't know what it is about you with you talking about raising prices. I thought I just need to do it. And she said, I can't give you an exact way or amount of money that it helped me, but I'm just as busy. But I was just kind of barely making ends meet. I was putting money in my checking account and paying all my bills and being almost broke until I made money the next week. And now it's been a few weeks since I've seen you, and I got a few extra $100 in my checking account even after I pay the bills. I said, well, that's a good way to look at it. A little extra money as a good start. And so then it can be a few extra $1,000, and then even more, and then a savings account, and then retirement. It can all grow. But yeah, if you're good, you deserve more.
Yeah, we are not going to bust our butt anymore and struggle to survive. We're much more than that. People are always going to need their hair done, girlfriend or boyfriend, girls and boys.
I know. She keeps saying girl.
People will always need their hair done, and we deserve to be compensated.
Eddie, what else do we know about Brittany's education? Did we cover all the details that we were supposed to cover today?
The other thing is this. What is the equipment that somebody would need to take this training? Is any of it included, or do they need to supply some of their stuff?
For the online training, the equipment is not included. So I don't know if we send them a little supply list that they're going to need.
Yeah. So we can help. Yeah. And so I usually recommend when people get the class first, watch the first video or 2 first, especially if you're going to be doing it with a group or a salon or a school. Watch the first video or 2 first, see what you need, and then call our office, and we'll help you come up with that. We have a list. I'm not sure if it's in the education or if we send it when people need it, but it's a few basics. We kind of go over all the things you need. And so some of this stuff is basic, so basic you can buy it on Amazon. Some tools you need, maybe a makeup brush or flex brushes, depending on what tool you're spreading adhesive with. Some people like paint brushes or color brushes. And I don't even remember what tool Brittany's favorite was for applying adhesive, but it's right there.
I know in my studio I use disposable paint brushes. So
yeah, so that might be what we used in there, and we're kind of showing people that. But you can get a lot of times people are training in a studio where they already have people doing hair replacement, and they're training new staff, so they have some of the supplies. So that's why we left a kit out, because we didn't want to make everyone pay for a kit that maybe didn't need it. And you'll have some of the supplies around your office already. So we do give you a list, and you are already ready to go and buy what you need from the suppliers, and we'll recommend exactly what you get. So I see RJ put in there, it's the most loyal clients. I want to talk a little bit about that, because that's super powerful. You know,
Yeah.
I used to, what you want to say anything about that, Brittany, as far as loyal?
Yeah, I mean,
Hair?
if you look, hair replacement specialists are far and few between. There's not a lot of us, and the few that there are, it's hard to find somebody who's good and who knows what they're doing. So when a client finds you and they like you, they will stick with you. I have clients who drive 2.5 hours from Indiana. I have clients who drive 3 hours from Wisconsin. So, and it's one of those things where if they're bonded on, that's a monthly maintenance. You know, they can go for maybe 6 weeks, but they're coming back regularly. It's not like a haircut client where they're like, okay, well, you know, I'm going to wait 6 months to get my hair done, or a highlight client where now we're doing these lived in colors so it can last longer. No,
Right.
these men and women, they need to come back to be serviced. That hair needs to be removed to prevent infection. So, you know, when you have a client, you have a client and they stick with you. Yeah.
So I'm gonna talk a little bit about the long term. Brittany just talked a lot more about the short term than the long term, which is just as powerful. I didn't even think about that. I was thinking about how long they stay with you, but you're right. They can't. Most of us don't reschedule our clients as soon as they leave, like we should. But you almost don't even have to. You should with hair replacement, but you don't
Yeah.
have to, because you're right. They're coming in 4 to 6 weeks. They're not going much more than 6 weeks, or they're going to have trouble with their hair on their head. So they're very consistent in their visits. So once you learn this kind of service, let's be honest, we're taking their hair off their head in a room, private room, hopefully, and they're bald for a few minutes. And we're cleaning up the adhesive on the hair system and their scalp and reattaching it to stay another 4 to 6 weeks. They don't want to reveal their bald head, man or woman, to another stylist unless they have to. So yes, it's a very powerful bond. It's a very powerful, like, I have to come every 4 to 6 weeks. They're not going to go to another stylist. And it's the only service I've ever done that I've been out from behind the chair for about 10 years now. I haven't been doing hair behind the chair for 10 years, but I passed on quite a few hair replacement clients to my staff, mostly my son, Brennan. And he has some of the people that I did 20, 25 years ago. So the average client, you know, I don't even know the statistics for the average client staying with a hairdresser, but it's a lot less than 25 years. You know, I know some of you guys keep some clients for 10, 15, 20 years. But in this case, even when they do move away, they still come back. And you know, when you lose clients, usually when you cut hair, we talk about all the reasons for attrition. You know, attrition is just loss, and nobody really knows why. Let's see. I have so many clients that claim they were your first. You know, with hair replacement. Brennan does all our clients, and I do remember who my very first hair replacement client is, and he doesn't come anymore, but he did come for a long time. So a few of them have been coming so long, they think they were my first hair replacement client, because we all lose our memory after 20 years, you know? And so Brennan says he's got a few that all claim that they were my first hair replacement. That's funny. What was I saying before he interrupted me with his comment?
I know you lose your memory. You're
Loyal
talking about losing
clients.
your memory.
Loyal clients coming forever. They keep coming. Oh, I was going to say, you know, we say attrition. We lose them from moving. Sometimes they move and they still fly back to get hair replacement. So the normal attrition isn't even as powerful with hair replacement. Like a haircut customer, you'd lose them if they move. Not necessarily with hair replacement. They can move. They can lose their job. They're going to make a loan. They keep their hair more often. And then
You know what you just remind me of too? I have never seen a group of hairdressers I've never seen a group of hairdressers that are so involved in maintaining and upkeeping education as much as I have seen hair replacement specialists.
Yeah.
It is really amazing to see how invested into keeping up to date with education hair replacement stylists are in comparison to a hairstylist who specializes in cutting or coloring or treatment or anything else for that matter.
Well, the supplies cost us hundreds of dollars to do each client. And so when you're spending so much on it, you want to make sure you're getting the best that's available. And every few years there's new technology, new inventions, innovation. And so we want to make sure that I want to make sure Brittany's not getting the best stuff out there and I'm missing out. You know what I'm saying? So we stay in communication. Like, what are you using now? She was just texting me before we got on here. Have you heard of a particular company? And I'm like, I've heard the name, but I don't know anything about them. Tell me what you know. And, I'm kind of curious. But there's that one last thing that I was going to mention of when you lose a client, when they die.
Mm-hmm.
I've done more hair replacement on my clients after they passed away than I have on any other kind of client. You know how you get called to go to the funeral home to style somebody's hair after they pass away? I had my very first one ever was an older man whose mustache was normally really neatly trimmed. And his wife said, I know you never trimmed his mustache, but he let it grow over. And he's now laying in that casket with an overgrown mustache. Can you trim it? And I'm thinking, oh my God, he's laying back. All the hair is going to fall between his lips. How do you, it wasn't like sitting up and it just falls on the ground, so it was a challenge, but trimming a mustache was my first. I did a couple of hairstyles, but hair replacement, with the morticians usually taking the hair off for all of the other processes they do. And they don't know how to do hair replacement because usually in the funeral home, you can they'll do a lot. They'll do the makeup. They'll fix the hair. They'll dress the body. But putting hair on a bald man or woman, I've done more of that for that last visit for the left behind loved ones because they don't want them to be embarrassed. And like they're not going to be embarrassed, but they want them to look like they did before for that one last viewing or whatever. So it's a powerful service. It's a very powerful service. Wow. I love talking about hair replacement so much. I can't believe we've been talking for 42 minutes.
It doesn't seem that long.
I know. Look at the clock just now. It is gone. Did we miss any of the list of details we were supposed to talk about?
So then the last thing on the list is, okay, I'm excited. I get certified. I take the class. What's next? What is next as far as support? What is next? Like what is the next steps? What is after getting certified look like?
Let's talk about that, but without talking about cost, Brittany, let's talk a little bit about what people pay. So we won't be since this is a public channel, we won't talk about the exact cost of hair and service and exactly what you profit, but we know you don't hurt for money anymore and you make more than your husband. Do not share this link with him. But roughly, what is a hair replacement client paying when they come in?
So we're not talking about cost of service?
We're not. No. We can talk about the cost of service
and
the cost of a cut-in, but I don't want to talk about our hairdresser cost to buy the hair.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, or what we're netting, like what's our markup. We'll talk with hairdressers as they take the training. We'll share all those details. With you. But just for here, we're going to have some clients watching and some hairdressers, and I want to give them a rough idea, like what are you going to be charging a client? This is going to scare some people off. When you say these high prices.
So I charge for my male clients $135 for a service. That includes the removal, the reapplication. I exfoliate their scalp. If they have any funkiness going on, we might do some ozone therapy. So I'm really taking care of the skin and the scalp as well. And a haircut.
How long does it take you? All of this? How long are you scheduling?
An hour. Tops.
Okay. $135 for an hour.
Yeah. And then if they're getting a new system cut in, that's going to be $65 if they purchase that hair through me. If they are bringing in, because this is something that is becoming more popular, where guys are buying hair online. And I know a lot of stylists won't even touch hair that they buy online. I will because I just don't. I just don't guarantee any type of warranty on that hair.
Yeah.
But my cut-in for a personal head of hair that you bring to me is $100.
Okay.
And then I think my female clients is $235 for a service, and that's about 2 hours.
Because it's longer and thicker hair, right?
Yep.
And so first time somebody comes to you to get brand new hair, what is that costing?
The hair,
How much are you charging a client?
Like overall, like a
brand new hair?
ballpark.
$825
Okay.
for a system. Yeah.
That's not the total cost.
What do you mean?
You're a la carte, so there's other fees.
Well,
involved.
right. So the hair is $825.
Yep.
The service is $135. For a very new first-time client, I do a free cut-in for them. So that's $65 for a cut-in is comped. But then after that, it's $65 for any additional new hair that we cut in.
So it sounds like, I'm not quick with math, but it sounds like right around $1,000?
Right around $1,000.
Yeah, right around $1,000. Get you brand new hair and it get cut in and look good. And then, so for about $1,000, you get hair, and then around $135 to
Maintain it.
and then that particular customer will need another hair system at least one more time before the year's out, maybe twice, depending on.
Yeah, it depends on how they take care of it, and
Yes,
a lot of different variables.
A lot of different variables that you learn in the class, right?
Yeah.
So when you hear those prices, I don't guess they're as scary as I thought. If we just started with 1,000, but when you started with the service fees, I'm like, some people charge more than that for color and highlights.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, because hair extensions cost about the same. You know, it's within the same ballpark.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's really, relatively speaking, it's all the same. I mean, think about it. Highlights nowadays cost $300 to $400.
Right. But they're taking more than an hour.
Well,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter how long it takes. You're coming in every 6 weeks. It's the
Yeah, and
frequency
if
of
you
it,
do,
know?
if you're doing a new cut-in, it's maybe 90 minutes. But
Yeah,
if
I
you
was
think
just
about
comparing the amount we charge to the
Right.
time. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but if you have, 4 or 5 new cut-ins for that week, that's $4,000 or $5,000 just in new cut-ins for the week, not to mention just your regular services that you're doing. So
Right.
it's profitable.
It is profitable. So let's answer Eddie's question now. What was it again? How do you get started? What's
No,
the next
so
step?
okay, so then what does support look like? What does technical support look like?
Yeah,
So you were
so
mentioning like the Zoom call, and you were mentioning a couple of other things.
so the Zoom call would be like, say you want to expand your learn more advanced techniques. We could, if you can't make it to Chicago and it's just you, and we're not going to fly out, then we would do like an online Zoom advanced training. But I'm available, Bernard's available for consulting after the class. So if you have a client in your chair or you're getting ready to do your first client and you have a couple questions, just shoot us a text message, shoot us a call. Like, hey, I'm having an issue with the front sticking down, or I can't quite get the perimeter blended. What am I doing wrong? So we're available for that type of.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, that works.
Done.
Closing comments, closing arguments. It's like a court case.
Closing arguments. That's funny.
No, what final thought would you like to leave us with, Brittany?
There you go.
I think final thoughts, man. Just do hair replacement, man. Just do hair replacement.
What are
No,
you waiting for? Like, why
it's-
aren't you doing it?
Yeah, it's so rewarding, not only for your client, but for you as well, because you're changing lives. You're making people feel really good about themselves. And then you're also changing your life financially. And it gives you the freedom to have more time because you're making more money. You don't have to bust your butt as much and book back-to-back appointments or double book yourself. I don't do that anymore. I don't have the energy or the time. I just don't. No thanks.
Yeah,
So
Brittany works like 3 hours a day.
That's not true.
I'm guessing.
Some days. It
This
depends on the day.
counts as one of them. This live stream counts as one of them.
I don't really know how much you work, actually. I just know you don't have to work 40 hours a week these days.
No, definitely not. I
to make the
don't.
money you
no.
make.
And that's
Nice.
awesome. And that flexibility and that freedom is worth more than anything else. Having the ability to work more if you want to versus have to is a stress relief of epic proportions. You can't even begin to explain how powerful that is, you know?
Right.
So that's absolutely phenomenal. What about you, Bernard? You got any final thought?
None.
None. I tell
That's
you guys,
surprising.
Because I don't hold my thoughts back. They've all been said already.
Talking this whole time.
Oh, the whole time was my final
the whole
thoughts.
time ever, right? Hair replacement is a life-changing service. It's really inspiring to see it. It is a deep rabbit hole to jump into. Once you get into it, you won't realize how much is available and involved until you really start getting into it. But I'll tell you, it's cool as hell. It's fun. It's really, really fun. So
He cursed.
definitely recommend it. Go check out, if you want to know more, go check out Profitable Stylist Academy. Look up Brittany. Check out her program.
Description below.
It's the link is in the description below. That 40% off link is also that link also gets you that 40% off. So definitely take advantage of that.
Till the end of this month.
Till the end of this month. So you got any other questions, give us a comment, let us know. And as always, thank you for watching. Catch y'all next week.
Subscribe.
Bye.